We're live.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us here on this this call about the comeback. It's all about stay safe, stay open, and we're thrilled that you guys are here to hear what's going on with all the parties involved. Thank you all for your partnerships. That's how we got through this to this point. It's coming up on that year anniversary, but I do want to point out one of the things we learned early on was our partnership with the Chamber, and I'm Chamber of Commerce, as well as a hotel association, which was able to join efforts in a lot of our efforts to both inform, educate, and assist the local community, but also in delivering supplies and working with all of our entities to help the communities, help our neighborhoods. And so thank you all for being a part of that. But I want to thank the Chamber and the Hotel Association for their partnership with Visit Anaheim. And it's been great to see everybody working together. We are coming up on that 1 year anniversary, and we've got a lot of people on the call today, which is fantastic. We've kind of gotten through to this point, almost a year since Disneyland is closed. And so we want to go through some things that we kind of got some news last week that kind of got us all excited again. And we have tons of questions, and we may not have all the answers. We won't have all the answers today, but we will have some list of questions that we can go back and return to you with some answers in the very near future. But we did want to cover what we do know. We did get the information about our Angels in Major League Baseball, and we hope to have more details soon about that. And that's great for Anaheim and for our entire community. But also we got news about theme parks, and that was the one on Friday afternoon. I think we all kind of leapt out of our chairs, got a little excited, a little celebration going on. I think some champagne was flowing on Friday afternoon and into the evening. So it was great news. Now we want to say, what does that mean? First off, though, I'll have the opportunity to introduce someone who's going to greet the group. There was a big effort going on in Sacramento, and with the Assembly bill, and the leader of that, the author of that, is joining us today. It's my pleasure to introduce Assemblywoman Sharon Quirk-Silva. She represents the 65th State Assembly District, which includes portions of Anaheim and the surrounding cities in North Orange County. She's been a champion of workers, small businesses, and our resort community throughout her tenure in the State Assembly. Her leadership recently helped accelerate the state's schedule to reopen theme parks, which have been closed for nearly a year. She's on the call with us today, and love to invite her to share some of the background on the state bill that she authored, AB 420, which spearheaded the state reopening of theme parks in the Disneyland Resort beginning April 1st. Assemblywoman, thank you for your tireless support and leadership, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm pleased to be able to have played a role in this, but we know this is a team effort, and that team, of course, consists of the leadership at theme parks, including Disney, Knott's, our Magic Mountain, but also local elected Chamber of Commerce, Visit California, and many, many others who have just been spending hours and hours working to not only address the safety concerns, and I've been out to Disney now, downtown Disney several times, and Knott's Berry Farm, and have made many pleas to assure some of the decision makers at the state that, in fact, Disney and other theme parks know how to do this. We also have worked very much in the same vein with museums, galleries, sports, entertainment venues, and so forth. So Friday definitely seemed like progress, and we know we still have a road to go, but certainly after a year, we have to get people back to work, and they want to go back to work. I know when I was down at downtown Disney a few times, I actually talked to the patrons a few times, young moms with their kids, and asked them how they felt about safety. And, they said, we feel safer here than we do in some of our other retail spots. So coming from moms' mouths to me, they are always the best people to judge safety for their kids, because we have a lot of mama bears out there, and they're never going to put their own children in a place they don't feel safe. But with that, We also had 2 informational hearings at the state, one related to arts, the other opening, and next week we'll host a 3rd on sports, which will include not only youth sports, but large sporting venues. And as you mentioned, Angels and Dodgers. Dodgers, I'm just a little fan there, but we like the Angels too. Anyhow, I will keep it short, but I really appreciate your including me. And we are always a phone call, or as Carrie knows, a text message away, or Jim Vanderpool. And it really does take all of us pushing. I know that the governor's office, I won't say who said, oh, who would know, the kindergarten teacher, a former kindergarten teacher, would be one of the most persistent voices. And that's my job. And I love doing it. So I'll sign off, but I know you'll keep me in the loop. But thank you so much.
Well, we want to thank you for your persistence and for having us in mind and for doing your job and doing a great job for us. So thank you so much. We applaud those efforts. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So I mentioned early on that we got some news last week, and we're excited. What does it mean? What's next? It's a lot of questions, as I mentioned, and I did want to introduce Todd Event with the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce, and he's going to go through maybe some things we do know, and also recognize some other electeds and leaders we have on the call. With that, Todd.
Great, thank you, Jay, and again, Shink, thank you. Echo Jay's comments, Assemblyman Quirk-Silva. Thank you for your leadership, and everybody on this call and everybody in your district owes you a debt of gratitude for your leadership. We all know, as Jay mentioned, we're all in this together, and it's been a long year, and we've seen a lot of devastation, both economically and within the community. But together has kind of been the theme of how we would get through this. I want to acknowledge a few people on the call today and people that have been leading the entire time. We have the Office of the Mayor, Harry Sadhu. The mayor has been on calls weekly with the top 13 mayors, advocating up and down the state. A lot of pressure on the governor's office. We thank him for that. But we also have Anaheim Council Member Jordan Bramman, former Councilwoman Lucille Kring, who's now on our Planning Commission. And we have the city manager. We're very fortunate, Jim Vanderpool. We have Office of Congressman Lou Correa. And for all of us that are thankful for this last round of PPP, he went to bat for hotels and restaurants. The extra 40% was a huge result of the congressman. The Office of Senator Tom Umberg's with us, Assemblymember Sharon Quirk-Silva, Office of Assemblymember Tom Daly, Office of Assemblymember Stephen Choi, and somebody who's led here just in a huge way in the county, the head of the Orange County Business Council and a member of the Orange County Health Vaccine Task Force. So important for us, Lucy Dunn. And Lucy, thank you for your leadership. We all know we're here today to hear next steps. And as we look forward, we know that we're under a blueprint from the governor's office, which has changed many times to our frustration over the last year. But the good news is there is good news. But in fact, today, these guidelines again changed today, making it to where once you hit a tier, you have to wait 3 weeks to hit another tier. That's probably gonna add a couple of weeks to getting through some of these tiers. But I'm gonna ask Chris Wynn to throw up a quick slide to give you just a quick assessment. As we know, the news is that theme parks can open up in the red tier, which is around the corner, likely next week. But what's important is the way these matrix work on each of the tiers, it's a balance between testing and vaccines and health in the equity areas within our community. And to get into, for Orange County to get into the red tier, we have to be at 226, it can't be more than 226 new cases in Orange County daily. And we have now passed that number and we're under that threshold. And today we're at 193 new cases positive in Orange County. There are ways that we could all move through these tiers that we'll be talking about later. But the good news is that we're right now heading into the red tier in this next week, which means that we can start some of the theme park openings. But there are other things that we're all going to be working on together because we still need meetings, we still need conventions, and we want to get through all this. So with that, it's our pleasure to introduce the team from Disney that's led today by Carrie Nocella to give you some answers to what is actually happening today. We do want to remind everybody there's a Q&A box. There is ways for you to put questions in. We have over 500 people on this call, so there'll be lots of questions. There's people from all different industries on this call. A lot of what we're going to hear about today is about theme parks and what it takes for them to get open, because it affects so many other sectors of our economy. And they're going to do their best job to answer a lot of questions. Some things are still being worked out, and they'll go through that. So please welcome Carrie Nocella with the Disney team.
Thank you, Todd, very much. And I just want to reiterate all the thanks that you indicated. All of our elected officials, all of our stakeholders, thank you so much for all of your efforts in getting us to this point. It has been challenging, like you said, but we're excited to get our cast back to work, and we're even more excited about what this means for the Anaheim community. So with that, I'll take you to the announcement that happened on March 5th. That was Friday from the governor's office. This was clearly work done by the California Attractions and Parks Association, otherwise known as CAPA, in concert, obviously, with the administration. But just to go over the blueprint, we are currently, as you know, in the purple tier. Exciting news about the potential red tier next week. But theme parks, if you are in the red tier, all theme parks are created equal. So before last week's announcement, there was a differentiation between small and large theme parks. And now no longer that differentiation exists, which is great. So in the red tier, the resort, the Disneyland Resort and theme parks can open up at 15% capacity. Small groups, max of 10 people or 3 households are only allowed to buy tickets at that time, at the same time. Indoor capacity max is 15%. There will be no indoor dining in the red tier. So many people have asked, no indoor dining on the theme parks, but there is still continues to be indoor dining once we get in the red tier at Downtown Disney. And there is also a mandate that only the guests who are attending the theme parks and buying tickets can be California residents. As we enter into the orange tier, that is essentially 25% capacity. Indoor dining does return. And there are some indoor restrictions, max 25%, which we are working through the administration exactly what that means. And then finally, the yellow tier. Once we get into the yellow tier, max 35% capacity at the resort, and then indoor capacity max 25% with the restrictions, which we'll work through with the administration. And as a reminder, indoor dining still continues. In all of the tiers, the administration has indicated that it will only be allowed for California residents, like I said earlier. So lots to work through, and Mary's going to get to that in a second. But again, we're very excited and very grateful for all of your support and partnership. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Senior Vice President of Experience and Integration, Mary Nevin.
Thanks, Carrie. It's so great to be with all of you today. I know you must have a ton of questions, and quite frankly, so do we. Well, we all saw the press release last Friday. The details of the new guidelines are not issued yet, and they won't be issued until later this month. So no one from Disney has seen a draft of the details of the new guidelines. And so our ability to answer most of your questions and even our own questions today is kind of limited at this time. But here's what we do know. Earlier today, our CEO, Bob Chapek, announced that we plan to reopen our 2 theme parks sometime in late April. And so you might say, well, why don't you know the date yet? Well, we're working through that as quickly as we possibly can. But there's a lot of things that we have to work through in order to set a reopening date. First of all, we have to understand what it will take to recertify our attractions. They've been closed for over a year. A lot of our vendors actually have gone out of business in the last year. And so we've got to identify new vendors. We are going to be recalling over 10,000 cast members who've been on furlough for over a year. And that's really exciting for us. But we also have to do that in alignment with each of our 17 union agreements. We've got to train the cast, not only on COVID-19 safety protocols, but also since it's been a year since most of them perform their roles, we have a lot of additional training. You know, when you think about our cast in attractions, having to run all of those machines, you know, we have to make sure that they have appropriate training to safely operate. So we have a lot to figure out. We're in the process of trying to finalize what our opening date is. And as soon as we know what it is, we'll get it to you. So while we don't have the date, we can tell you based on Bob's announcement today that it will be sometime in late April. I also can't tell you what that late April will mean, soft opening or open for public, general public reservations, but you know, all of that is being worked on even as we speak. And as soon as we have those timelines, as I said, we will get the word out to you through our normal communication channels. So Disneyland Resort Hotel opening dates, when are they gonna open? Well, we previously announced that the Disney Vacation Club units will open May 2nd. We still need to understand the reopening of the parks better before we can make an announcement and decision on when the actual hotels themselves will open beyond the Disney Vacation Club units. What else do we know? Well, we do know that pre-arrival online reservations are going to be a requirement for our theme parks. And each reservation will be limited to 10 and no more than 3 households and only California residents at this time. Should we open in red and even in orange for the California residents. We're gonna have reduced capacity. Carrie mentioned to you that there's different levels of capacity limitations for our parks in each of the different tiers. But we haven't seen exactly how those have been defined yet as far as capacity. So I can't even tell you today what that will look like specifically for us. On top of that, there will be additional reduction of capacity in our attractions, time limitations for guests to be in indoor attractions. And we don't have a full understanding of those details either. So the press release also mentioned reduced time indoors, and we don't understand what that means. Could this mean that we have a limited time that someone could be in a retail location if they're inside a theme park versus outside a theme park? So there's a lot of details that we need to understand, and all of that will impact how we think about the amount of reservations that we'll have each day when we open. Having said that, we hope to work with the administration over the next few weeks as they finalize the guidelines. And once the guidelines are released, we're going to bring this group back together again. And we'll reconvene with all of you within a few days after the guidelines are released. We'll need to make sure we understand them first. And then we'll capture all of your questions in the chat and Q&A section today so we can make sure that when we come back to you, we have all of the answers to the questions that we know you're looking for. I know so much is unknown yet, but we are very excited about a path forward. And I think that's what we really want to focus on today, is to get all of the businesses surrounding the Disneyland Resort reopened, and your people back to work is just as important to us as bringing our own cast members back. And so we also have some other great news that I wanted to share today. And so Clark Jones, who is our Vice President of Finance, is here to share great news that we do know regarding a brand new limited time experience, A Touch of Disney, that opens March 18th. Clark.
Thanks, Mary. So I thought it'd be kind of fun. We talk about the comeback. You know, if you go back last summer, the comeback kind of started then when we opened up Downtown Disney, and you know, the demand for that product, you know, was just better than what we expected, and it sustained itself so much as we got into the holidays. We opened up Buena Vista Street, if you remember, just to continue to expand the space. You know, and what was great was capacity and demand kind of met each other again as it lifted up. You know, and so this a couple weeks ago, we just opened up Star Wars Outpost at Downtown Disney, and we've seen the demand for that to remain, yeah, it's been solid and has remained that way. And so then, as Mary mentioned, we just went on sale for A Touch of Disney, and we put tickets on sale last Thursday. And I will tell you all that we sold out. If you were tracking it, or you tried to get your tickets, or you did get your tickets, first, thank you for that. But, you know, we sold 25 days of capacity, you know, as quickly as we possibly could. And so Yeah, I bring all that up just to remind us all about the demand that there is for this product, for Anaheim, for this space, and that the demand is still there as we work our way towards the broader opening. Specifically for Touch of Disney, so it's going to start March 18th. We're excited to launch it then. It'll run through April 19th. It's at California Adventure. Our tickets were $75. Of that, you got parking, you got a photo pass, but also a $25 food voucher, so gift card to use in our food offerings, which I will tell you, the food offerings, if you're a fan of Food and Wine Festival, or you're just a fan of the classics, you're going to be blown away by the offering that we are going to have in this space. Going from the classics like corn dogs and turkey legs to specific items to Disneyland, like Dolps and the Monte Cristo sandwich, and then to Food and Wine classics like the brisket mac and cheese, which is always a big seller for us. And new items, found out yesterday, jalapeno bacon peanut. So it runs, the food is going to be fantastic. The merchandise is going to be great. And then in addition to that, I have a Touch Card Disney Entertainment. So the guests will have the opportunity from a distance safely, see our way that they typically don't get a chance to see them. And I will tell you, I think this is potentially a once in a lifetime opportunity for our guests to experience the park in a way that they will probably, once we get reopened again, not have that same type of atmosphere or opportunity, knock on wood. So we're excited about the offering. We're excited about what's to come for that. And then that just naturally leads us into the broader opening as we continue this great comeback of the Disneyland, of Anaheim, of Southern California. So we're really excited about all of it. And again, we appreciate, Carrie, Mary, myself, appreciate you all taking the time to listen to where we are. A lot of questions, but a lot of excitement, behind that. So with that said, Jay and Todd, I will turn back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Clark and Mary and Carrie. We appreciate it. Seeing a lot of the questions coming in, a lot of them are related to some of the things that Disney addressed, and that was that they're waiting on some of these guidelines. So they're not going to have specific answers to some of these questions that are coming in, but we'll address the questions and answers that we can at the end of this. Thank you for sending those in. But what's next on the horizon? And one of the questions was in regard to kind of the marketing plans, and then we'll address the meeting and convention. Another question was in regard to convention center. So one thing that you can be doing is developing those protocols and guidelines for your own organization, your own hotel, your own entity, facility. Just as the convention center and now I believe 7 other facilities in Anaheim have gone through the GBAC certification. The Honda Center has, others have, many hotels have. Look at things like that you could prepare, because not only do we have to convince the governor's office as well as our state health and county health that we're ready to reopen, we have to convince those potential travelers that it is safe, we're going to responsibly reopen and responsibly travel. And so that's going to be key. Anything you have like that, a protocol, a guideline, a Marriott standard, a Hilton standard, whatever the case may be, make sure we know about that so that we can be addressing some of those things in our advertising and our marketing. So we'll kind of jump right in. If Chris could put on the marketing slides, I'll give you some of the details that we have in place as we share the screen. So I mentioned one of the things we're going to have to do is to really convince those that it's safe to travel, but also to really laser target on those travelers who are right now in California and those that feel like it's safe to travel. So one of the things we're going to do is we're using a kind of a robust campaign and an ecosystem of different programs we've used before. We want to jumpstart our destination, our local business. And so this is going to be in 3 steps. The first step through our consumer booking journey is the inspiration. So this top level with Pandora, Sojourn, and Dara is how we're going to be working with the inspiration point. We want people to be excited about traveling again. We want them to say, wow, I haven't been to Disneyland in a year. I haven't been in 2 years. That is on my list. I'm going to start planning now. We want them to come to an Angels game. We want them to come to visit Anaheim and our entire area. So the inspiration, we want us to be top of mind for the traveler. The next is the information tier. We've got to work the system through TripAdvisor, Kayak, Travel Zoo, and AAA in order to say, here's the information, here's what's going on out there, here's the guidelines, here's what you can do, what you can't do, and so forth. And third level down there is the conversion. And these have been our most successful conversion tools that we've worked with Expedia, with Priceline, and with Getaway today. So we're going to have programs that we're funding through each of these to try to drive more business and more bookings into our hotels and thus into our restaurants and attractions. Now, there will be some co-op opportunities coming from the conversion point, and we'll be getting those out as soon as possible. Don't have all of those right now, but we'll be getting those soon. The next level that we're going to have to work is the social media. We've had a strong social media effort throughout this entire journey. Kudos to our social media team and our marketing and communications folks at Visit Anaheim. They do a great job. If you're not following Visit Anaheim on Instagram, you're missing out because it's telling a beautiful story. So through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the influencers, we're going to have a paid media effort through these entities so that will be layered on top of all these programs. And they've been truly a great success. And right now, people have depended on them more than ever. Finally, to help amplify and expand even more the recovery, we partnered with the next slide, this next item is Visit California. Now, Visit California is been a great partner along the way, and we've joined there with them in many things from IPW to different marketing efforts around the world. These are the areas where they're going to be focusing on in the programs that we have bought into that are starting immediately. Now, one of the great things is that they have selected as their campaign, Calling All Californians. So they're calling all Californians to travel, and that plays right into this limitation we had of just Californians. So they're going to be focusing on that in-state advertising and marketing, and we're going to be a part of that. Now, we'll go to the next, which is basically, our campaign after IPW was Calling All Characters. And so it's been very successful for us. So we're going to weave into that, kind of that whole Visit California staycation and that whole deal of calling all Californians, leading into calling all characters to help jumpstart the economy. One of the things I think we all enjoy is Visit California's work and their marketing work and their commercials, TV spots, and videos. So we've got one I want to play for you now that they're going to be running to focus on that in-state traveler. The audio there? All right, somehow the audio file didn't get brought over. So I apologize for that, but it's basically saying that this guy is working tirelessly to build back the California economy because he is booking a room in California and he is enjoying our attractions, spending money on food and so forth. So kind of tongue in cheek, but I apologize that the audio didn't work because those are always crowd pleasers. Anyway, next slide, we're going to go to kind of the partner programs that are in place. These are rolled out programs that we're launching within the next 4 weeks and encompassing a variety of different partner categories. So there's hotel partners, there's food and beverage outlets and entities, as well as retail, as well as kind of arts and culture, as well as other attractions that'll be part of the program. Next slide will be the Visit California campaign with Expedia and Adara. Now this will be focusing co-op, getting targeted travelers and tenders within the state, enhanced with efforts from our own social media channels, as I mentioned, and Adara will provide top of funnel inspiration to those searching for travel destination through use of display and native advertising, while Expedia will capture the conversation and continue through conversion. So for additional details on the Expedia program, please contact Pepe Avila in our office at Visit Anaheim. And he's got some great ideas, and he and the marketing team have put together some great ideas for some co-op. As Todd mentioned, we are all in this together, and we're going to recover it together. So let's all join in and make this recovery as strong as it can be responsibly. The next thing we offered was the hotel special offers landing page. Now, I know a lot of this has been focused on hotels and theme parks, but we also, through getting these things, getting people in town, we also drive a lot of other businesses, whether it's retail, whether it's gas stations, whether it's all these type of businesses that the visitors driving in need and will be putting money back in the economy. So the next slide, our hotel special offers landing page that we put together, and the hotels that have added, submitted special offers and updates on this page that we get out and market through our social media efforts and through Expedia. And this has been an ongoing program, and it's also going to continue in our spring program. The next page is our kind of our spring promotion, more detailed. We're partnering with Disneyland to launch a spring promotion next month. It includes a Disney gift that'll be attached to a hotel booking. The goal of this program is to help jumpstart the marketing efforts for all the hotels. The spring promotion includes an orchestration of social media, email marketing, key media influencers, in addition to hotels having your own opportunity to expand the reach of the program with your own social media and distribution through your marketing efforts. So that's in place as well this spring. And then next slide is the Visit Anaheim Savings Pass. And that is done through our Bandwango partnership, a partnership that the Chamber and Visit Anaheim both share. And that is with different audiences. One is for the local community to get out there and dine local, shop local. And then ours would be for the visitors coming in. But both are the same offering that you can have, whether you're a restaurant, you're an attraction. We'll be adding more of that soon. It's not too late to join. So if you want to reach out to Pepe for more information on any of these programs, it's not too late to get in as we start this recovery. So our next slide is our kind of marketing recovery campaign. And that is kind of a summary of our local bit to activate the destination and our local businesses and local economy. We presented, they're launching this month and in April with their various layers throughout the entire recovery campaign. So the next slide I put together kind of a timeline. So when you're looking to market out there, you can see where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing. So some things that you see were started in March, some things that have been continuing all year long through our PR and social, but also the inspiration programs when those are starting. And this is timing. It's working out to be great with the timing of the late April opening of Disneyland and other theme parks. We're very excited to have this in place with our highest return on most of these programs has been through our Expedia programs and some of the other conversion entities where we can actually track the return on that. But this is ongoing, heavy pickup in April and May, continuing on through the end of the year. So that gives you an idea of where we're going to be, what we're going to be placing. It's been also strategically designed to adjust with the reopening stages, but also with Visit California's efforts and what they will have in the marketplace. So eventually this will be expanded beyond California into the Western states and the drive market, and then beyond that. So according to Visit California, their efforts will not really go to a national level until the following either late in the year or early next year. So we've got a lot of travelers local who we can tap into now. And so that's kind of our next step on that. Again, be keeping track of all your protocols and guidelines, as well as if you're GBAC certified, please let us know. If you're not familiar with GBAC, it is a global biorisk accreditation that was developed for pandemics. And so our Anaheim Convention Center was the first convention center on the West Coast to achieve that designation. And it's gone into now, I think there's many hotels. I think our Hyatt hotels have joined the list, as well as many others, the Honda Center and some other city facilities. So it's exciting to see that. And we need to know more because that's going to help us tell the story to the potential traveler of that it's safe to come back and safe to see. So with that, I think I'm going to go back to Todd to talk about some of the other things that we can do as a community to speed through these tiers so we are as open as we can be as soon as possible. You're on mute, Todd.
You think after
you have to say that on every call.
Yeah, you think after a year of Zoom we'd get past the mute button, but my apologies. As Jay mentioned, you know, one of the biggest questions we've received from our businesses in town and residents is, what can we do to help? And everybody's got to be prepared to, you know, for this opening. I think it's been very clearly stated by Disney that they anticipate that by the end of the month that they will be opening up by the end of April, is what I understood. I think everybody heard. I think a lot of people are asking about, you know, on the questions, I'll kind of just hit some of the summaries are about numbers of, you know, what does 25% mean and what does that mean to staffing? I think it's safe to assume, and Disney can jump in here where they'd like, but I think it's safe to assume that kind of the percentage of opening will probably enter some closeness to the percentage of staff that are coming back in relation. And as things open further and further, more employees will come back and more businesses that are fed by that generation will be opening up and more staff will come back. So unless Carrie or anybody has anything to add to that question, I think that's kind of the general answer as I'd understand it. Yep. Carrie's saying yes. I know on the questions, there was some questions of what's next, what's happening with vaccination. I know there's a lot of efforts in the county. I know Lucy's on the call, but you know, the state of California, some of these tiers move quicker based on the entire state's vaccination. So there are a lot of efforts here in California to get as much vaccination to California and then to get it out. The challenges to date have not been getting the shots into people's arms once the vaccine's here on the ground, but it's been about getting enough vaccine here, and there's a lot of efforts to continue to do that. I know one question was, is there a direct effort for resort workers? I know that some workers are in some of the categories that qualify and some aren't, but there's efforts to continue to make sure that as many people get vaccinated. And I think over this next month, we're going to see a lot more manufacturing and production, and you'll see a lot more of all the qualified workers getting vaccinated. I don't know anything that anybody wants to add to that, Carrie?
No, that's correct. I mean, and you know, we're incredibly proud of the work of the SuperPod site, both at the Anaheim Convention Center and then at the Toy Story lot, that I think has enabled a lot of our community to get vaccinated. So it's definitely been an exciting time for us.
Todd, if I could add to that, we've, you know, the food servers and some of the restaurants were included in that first tier for vaccinations. And we've been working with the California Hotel and Lodging Association in trying to get the hotel front line into that category to no success thus far, but we'll continue to stay at it because we think that's very, very important. So especially as we know, more hotels are going to be reopening and so forth. So I think that's something we'll keep after and we'll keep updating everyone.
Great. And then the other piece that goes with vaccinations that we've all talked about is that while consumers and more people get vaccinated, all of the drive-through testing sites numbers are dropping off. And one of the ways that we go through the tiers, and there'll be some information coming out to all of you in regards to this, is to continue testing. And if we're testing twice the average county in the state of California, we get double the amount of positive cases we're allowed to have to get through the tiers. So that's going to be very important. And when people ask us what they can do, there are programs that are available right now for basically free employee testing reimbursed by insurance and or what's called URSA or the CARES Act. And there are companies that you're going to be receiving information from about how you can access those resources. And the more we test, the quicker we move through these tiers and limit the possibility of going back through a tier. So very important, and we'll be asking for everybody's help on that. There was a question about the city budget. And I think that's been a concern to everybody. And we have our city manager on. So Mr. Vanderpool, if you wouldn't mind addressing that question and also any other comments you have right now.
Certainly, Todd, thank you. And really quick, Todd, Jay, Team Disney, thank you so much for your tireless efforts the last 12 months. I mean, I've been here 6 months, and what you have done has been nothing short of incredible. And so fighting for this industry, fighting for our destination. And so thank you for the work that all of you have done collectively. It has been nothing less than impressive. To the question at hand, and thank you, Mr. Taormina, for that question. I don't have to tell any of you this, but Anaheim has been devastated, exponentially worse than any other city in the state of California, and including all of our destination partners. And so with that, coming out of it will require some unorthodox solutions. And so solutions that other cities aren't faced with because they don't rely on tourism to the extent that we do here in the city of Anaheim. And so we will be looking at a borrowing instrument to get us through this. Responsibly, we would look at cutting our budget to deal with the deficit. If we were to take that approach, we would decimate our city. We would decimate the services to our residents, to our businesses, to our tourists, and we cannot do that right now. And so we are working with the banking industry, with financial advisors, putting together solutions for the mayor and the city council to contemplate here later this month. But it will involve some borrowing, but with responsible, rapid repayment once we get open and back to business. So that's kind of what our budget picture looks like at this juncture.
Great, thank you, Jim. And I think the aid that's coming from the federal government is in excess of what a lot of us had hoped for, and so it's very encouraging of what will be able to be done at the city level to maintain staffing levels. And Jim, we're thankful for your leadership in that area. I will also address Lucy Dunn, who's on the vaccine task force for the county, has been texting in, and with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine coming on, as she says, it's a game changer in supply, and that the goal is to be on track by July 4th of being pretty much widely vaccinated here in the county to the point that herd immunity sets in. And there was also a question of how do we move from a yellow tier into a green tier? And the answer is vaccine. And when we've seen the herd immunity and the caseloads drop off, we will be seeing getting back to normal and back to higher occupancies as consumer demand continues to grow and confidence builds. So all of us have a lot of work to do to get through those. And thank you everybody for your leadership on vaccine, Lucy and your task force, and Disney and the city for your leadership. We're working with a lot of cities across the regions on all items. And one of the things that always stands out is the leadership of Anaheim. And Jim, you and your team and the mayor and Mike Lister, we got to take a hat off to him. He's led a lot. As the PIO of the city, he didn't know he was going to be the chief health officer, but he's done an amazing job. I know I'm looking at the other questions here. A lot of them are about capacity. I think that's been explained. The core items, is Disney, as well as Major League Sports. Everybody understands the Angels kind of got the same news, or baseball and sports, but there's a lot of how does it actually work when you get down to the details. So as it's been explained, a lot of those things are going to be answered in the next 2 weeks. That'll kind of talk about how those get answered. We do have some upcoming dates that Jay's going to hit of other resource town halls that we'll be hosting by industry. There's PPP out there of how companies can get that, other grants and assistance. And then we're doing a lot of work with companies on HR. How do you open up? What can you do? What are the OSHA laws about testing? Where are those resources? So we'll be working with several industry groups to host the first ones that are coming around the corner for hotels and restaurants, because many other sectors have been open. So what does this mean, especially those in our resort? And then as the Disney team here gets more information over the next couple of weeks and gets more definitive dates, somewhere in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we anticipate there'll be another resort opening update webinar similar to this. So I'm looking for a few more questions here to see.
Yeah, Todd, I'll just address some of the, a lot of the questions are in regard to employees count, when will fireworks start again, will there be a job fair? we'll take these questions that are specifically towards, we'll need the guidelines from the state in order to answer, and we'll make sure that Disney has those so that when they do readdress us, when they do get the guidelines, we can answer all those questions. But these are great questions, and please, we take them very seriously, but a lot of those answers are not known right now. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. There was another question in regard to, will the opening of the Disneyland Resort affect the opening of the convention center? Really, in our mind, the theme parks had to get that opening first before the meeting and convention. There are a lot of efforts that we're going through with Cal Travel, as well as with the Convention Center Coalition of Cal Travel, and working with the governor's office, with our assembly representatives, as well as the Senate, on trying to develop those guidelines and make sure they're reviewed. One of the great developments that's going on is that now that the theme park has been announced, they will be able to focus some on these meetings and conventions. On Friday evening, we've got the county health, Dr. Chow and his team have agreed to come to Anaheim to tour one of our hotels, to tour and experience all the protocols and guidelines for hosting a meeting, hosting an event, feeding a group, all these type things. And so many thanks to the Anaheim Marriott for agreeing to showcase these efforts. So they're going to be coming by at the end of this week to take a look at those. San Diego County has already done the same thing. So our next effort would be to have these counties join together and applying some pressure on the state health that people have done their homework. There are guidelines and protocols in place, and meetings and conventions can actually control flow better than most things out there. So it is a great way. At the same time, we're working with our meeting planning community. What are those standards and protocols that they're going to develop? Who's responsible? Are they going to have mandatory testing to come in to a convention? Are they going to ask for a vaccine? All those questions that they're going to be reviewing now. And those are all things we're working with our customer advisory board, as well as our industry standards on doing things like that. So keep you posted on that, but we're trying to get more guidelines on meeting and conventions. And if you can have 200 people in a meeting, so be it. Let's go. We got to start somewhere. Just like we're starting a capacity cap with the theme parks, and then we'll move up. So just as someone asked about Disney World and their capacity, they opened up, don't forget it, 25%, I believe also. And have, according to Visit Orlando, have moved up slightly from that point. But by the time we open in late April, we should be in orange tier. So that's great news. It's a great place to start, and just be encouraged. I'm trying to see if there are other questions, Todd, that you saw that you wanted to address. Someone mentioned when will out-of-state visitors be able to come in? I think that'll be addressed. I think we're going to reach that point where the vaccinations reach a certain point, the testing reaches a certain point. We've had a certain number that have been infected along the way. And so that herd immunity is going to start to affect and kind of change some things. It will come. I'm not going to predict when, but I think that continually through the summer, we're going to see some less and less emphasis on hopefully these restrictions, and more show that we can open responsibly and expand that to bring in those from our touch states, because that's some of our best driver markets. I can share the Visit Anaheim slides. We'll make sure we have the list that I can have that sent out to, so that you have that to refer to. Let's see. Some of these regarding annual passes and so forth, which we'll not address at this time. And then does Touch of Disney have a capacity? I don't know if that's something that the number that's out there, but we can address all those, and that's coming up very soon, but it is sold out, my understanding, Clark. So kudos to you guys for putting that together. We're all very excited.
Thank you.
You know, and Jay, I think all of us understand that these opening capacities, I think, you know, everybody on this call, or most people would say, hey, let's get back to business. And we're in the state of California. We've had an interesting ride for this year. All of us are beyond frustrated with some of the leadership on getting to this point. in the fact that we're talking about theme parks and baseball stadiums and we're not talking about meetings and conventions makes no sense, but we're all not going to stop. And so please, in the next days, you will see as we head into the anniversary, we're going to be talking about the economic impact. Jay has been pounding daily saying, I'm trying to hold on to third quarter business here in Anaheim in fourth quarter. All of our hotels are calling saying, what do we tell people? Is California open? Is Orange County open? Is Anaheim open? While people are booking trips to Nevada and Florida and other places. So do understand that we are going to send you all some more information to ask for your help in advocacy, because we're not done. And we've got to keep the pressure up on our local elected officials, and they've been great. And we've got to push upwards to the state to make them understand the impacts and the damage that continues to be done by not having clarity on how we can open up this economy and dates. So we're going to continue. We're going to be asking you to join letter campaigns, make calls to help drive those things, because I wish we were dealing with complete logic. It hasn't been. There's a lot of politics. It was great that schools got open, because how do you open schools and not let these other things open? So while it seemed frustrating that we're talking schools and not about business, it all came together. And I think we're very fortunate. And thank you, Disney, for your artful negotiations and tact with the governor and his team. I know it hasn't been easy, and thank you for your leadership and all that you guys are doing. We are going to call on all of you. We mentioned that there's other things that you can all do to help us get through these tiers. The one thing we know is that the blueprint has changed on a pretty regular basis. So we don't want to take for granted that any of the things that we can all be doing together to move through those tiers and be securely through the tiers, that we don't do them all, because every one of those means a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks earlier that we'll get to the higher capacities, which will impact getting people back to work in our community, getting the tax revenues going so that the city can keep servicing its residents, and that our business owners can survive this terrible, terrible economic downturn that we had based on the pandemic. So understand that the efforts are here and we need your help. And we will take all the Q&A and put together a Q&A sheet with the information we can answer. That'll be part of the email you get as a follow-up tomorrow. So look for that. And if anybody has any more direct questions or answers, please feel free to call Jay or I at the chamber and/or visit. And we'll, if we don't have the answer, we'll try to get it for you. So I think, Jay, we've covered most of what we'd hope. I don't know what else you have or anybody on the panel, but I think we're...
please, when we do send out this list of what you can do, it may be letter writing, it may be something like that, but we're going to have to really pound our elected officials in Sacramento that we need these meeting guidelines. I was on a call this week with a citywide piece of business. It's booked for September of this year, and they are going to be canceling because we can't get guidelines from the governor. And they're going to be going where? They're either going to Texas, to Atlanta, or to Florida. So we are losing that economic impact. And this is a loyal client to Anaheim. It's set to return a couple times in the future, but that'll be gone. That economic impact will be gone forever. So when we send you these things and request the things you can do, please take action. It's going to take all of us, all of our voices being heard in order to bring this back. And we all benefit from it. These things all work together. It's the theme park clicking. It's the restaurants going. It's the convention center with full house. And all these things working together. Just think on a year and a half ago, how everything was clicking. We were in fine shape and really clicking on all gears. And now we're going to return to that. So please watch for that. Thanks again to the Chamber and Hotel Association for the partnership. Thank you, Disneyland Resort, for coming on here with everyone. Everyone's got a ton of questions for you guys. And it's great that you jumped on here with us to talk about that. Mr. City Manager, thank you for joining us. It means a lot that you believe in our industry. You're out there with a wonderful vision for how we come back from this, and we appreciate that. It's a welcome sight. So
could I just say on behalf of the Disneyland team, we just so much appreciate all the advocacy and support that all of you provided us in the last year. We know this has been hard on everybody, and we could not have had the path forward right now without all of your support and advocacy. So thank you.
Amen.
So Todd mentioned those upcoming town halls, if you will, that we're going to be having on the, I think the 18th and the 25th. So watch for more information on that. Please join us. We're all sharing all the information we can get, and hopefully we'll have some great details for you on those calls. With that, Todd, anything to sign off?
Just again, thank you everybody for taking time. And if you have any questions, please hit Jay and I up. And thank you all panelists, and thank you Disney for your leadership. And you know, together we'll get through this. We got a lot of work to do.
Thanks everybody.